It's almost like Marvel created the pandemic to keep us at home and subscribe to Disney Plus. I mean, I'm not one for conspiracy theories normally.
I mean, if they did, maybe it's worth it. I don't know. You're listening to Diminished Returns, the podcast about sequels, prequels, spin-offs and reboots. I'm Liam Dempsey, and across from me is a man who may be even more Scottish than an old Highlander like myself. It's your regular host, Mr. Alan Johnston.
How do, pod people? That's right, we're back for another bonus episode where we talk news, trailers and whatever the hell we want. Helping us out on this episode, we have a guest host, Liam Dempsey, from the excellent Spotlight podcast, a Star Trek podcast from a non-Trekkie perspective. Welcome to the show, Liam.
Hello, sir.
Good to have you with us, Liam. So, first up, no news this episode. The big news is your usual host, Chris, is sidelined at the moment, but he'll be back just as quick as he can. But for the moment, here's a little message from Chris himself.
Hi, it's me, Chris, the co-host of Diminished Returns. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be in this episode due to annoying health issues. Unfortunately for most of you, it's non-fatal, so I will survive. But until I return, we have handpicked some excellent guest hosts to be the Adam Lamberts to my Freddie Mercury. Catch you later, you dicks.
As you can see, he's fine, really. So, Liam, do you want to talk some trailers while you're here?
Amazing about talking about trailers.
How about we have some trailer talk? Bum bum bum.
From the very beginning, I realized I saw the world differently than everyone else. That didn't sit well with some people. But I wasn't for everyone. I guess they were always scared that I'd be a psycho. I'm Cruella.
So, Disney are about to release the 101 Dalmatians prequel called Cruella, starring Emma Stone and Emma Thompson, which, I mean, Battle of the Emmas there.
Yeah, very, very, very much so. So, are you looking forward to this based on the trailer?
Normally, I'm just excited about any Emma Stone film. I think she's amazing, but I have zero interest in finding out how she got bad. One of my pet peeves with franchises generally is where you over-explain the villain. Whether it's Rob Zombie with Michael Myers in Halloween, or even the Star Wars prequel trilogy, I don't need to know how Anakin became Darth Vader. Like, he's the bad guy. That's all the motivation I need to know, about him. But, we get to discover in Cruella, where Cruella de Vil, it sounds like the devil, where she got on the road to being a wrong'un and skinning puppies.
I mean, personally for me, Anne, one of the great unanswered questions of cinema is why Cruella de Vil hates dogs. And it does seem like this is going to possibly reveal. In the trailer, there are some Dalmatians growling at her at a party. Perhaps that's where her vendetta started.
Do you just think that the Dalmatian nation has some kind of psychic link that they just know, oh, she's going to want to skin us all for whatever reason? But I mean, beyond Emma Stone and Emma Thompson, is there anything here that you're thinking, I want to get my teeth into this, to use a dog-related injury?
So for me, it's one of those projects that when I first heard about it, I just went, no, bollocks, who cares, what the fuck. However, like you say, Emma Stone, very good actress in the lead, and she looks like she's having fun here. But the big thing for me is this is directed by Craig Gillespie, who directed I, Tonya.
Right.
And which, for me, if you know that watching the trailer, it's very, very obvious, because this very much looks like I, Tonya, but with Cruella de Vil. And, at the end of the day, I think it looks like he's made the film that he's been hired to make. Because Disney clearly saw I, Tonya and went, we could do that with one of our female characters. Here's Cruella de Vil. And then he made it. And then probably also saw Joker be a big hit as well. And went, I'll give it a bit of that flavour on top of that. But it's directed by him, and I loved I, Tonya.
Yeah,
great movie.
Brilliant movie.
And the script is co-written by Tony McNamara, who wrote The Favourite. Another amazing movie. And like, you're like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, it just that seems like quite a combo. So I am intrigued in terms of if it comes out and suddenly critics are saying 5-star masterpiece, maybe, I'll check it out. I always take it back. For me, it all goes back to Paddington.
Right.
Because when Paddington was getting like kind of trailers and stuff, everyone was like, what a piece of shit that looks. Not interested at all. And then when it came out, raves.
Yeah, I mean, in spite of myself, I think it looks amazing. Like, it looks amazing. I love that period. I guess it's 50s. I guess the book came out in 1956.
Yeah.
It certainly has a great look to it, a kind of, let's say, frenetic energy, and it doesn't really give away plot details. Like, I don't know what her sort of big scam is. I don't know if she's already into dog killing. It just kind of come back to, what's the reason for this story to exist? Is it really going to be the bridge from this to the animated film? Is it going to be the bridge from this to the Glenn Close 101 Dalmatians? Surely there's nobody that's at home trawling through Disney Plus is like, do you know what I really want to know? What was Glenn Close doing in the years prior to rounding up these dogs?
It's just IP. Like, we live in a time where, like, anyone who knows, anyone who works in the film industry knows it is easier to get anything seen or greenlit if it is connected to a piece of IP.
Yeah,
yeah. And it doesn't matter what that IP is. Like, in terms of, as long as it's something that is considered to have some form of marquee value, or that it could just, they think it will jog a memory in someone's head, that they'll go, oh, I know what that is, and check it out. Like, that's all it takes, kind of thing. And it is getting, like, insane now. I mean, literally, funny enough, on one of our episodes of Spotlight, there was a recent episode where I, during the show, dropped the news on Paul of the Dick Jones RoboCop spin-off, the bad guy from RoboCop, which is happening, like a TV series based around Dick Jones, right? And he literally did not know if I was joking or not. He was just like, what?
And what is the plot for this? Is it Dick Jones climbing the corporate ladder? Is it like the Wolf of Wall Street?
That's the show. RoboCop Origins, Dick Jones. So no RoboCop, just Dick Jones climbing the corporate ladder is the thing we all want to see.
Oh, is him like getting the blueprints delivered of ED-209? Oh, amazing! Like,
that's it, yeah. It's just like, and none of the exciting stuff. Like, just him, like, working his way up from the mailroom in season 1. When he finally unveils ED-209 in the last episode.
It's like watching Peggy's journey through Mad Men, only it's with Dick Jones at OCP. Brilliant.
But this is what I mean. Like, that sounded like a joke to someone who didn't know that it was a real thing, because of the fact that we've got to that level, I think, where people will just pull out anything. We've had, like, this week, there's been 3 Game of Thrones, like, prequel series, like, announced kind of thing that are in the works, that are, like, one's fucking just the back streets of, like, fucking King's Landing or whatever. It's one of those things where that's where we are now with IP. And the thing is, this isn't me saying that it doesn't mean that a great creator can take something like that and make something great with it, because it has been proven time and time again that things that you would think would have nothing to offer, like a Hannibal TV series, for instance, can be great, kind of thing, with the right creative team behind them. But they can sound uninspiring, kind of thing. Like, so I'm not saying, stop it all, ban it, but it is getting to a ridiculous level where you're just kind of like, with something like the Dick Jones thing, you're like, right, well, why not just tell a story about a guy working his way up through a corporation? Why does it have to be connected to RoboCop? Because really, essentially, it's got nothing to do with it whatsoever.
So, for Cruella, you in or you out, Liam?
Well, you know what? I'm going to say tentatively in.
Okay.
Just because I should say that I've worked with one of the stars of this film, Joel Fry, who plays one of her henchmen. She's got 2 henchmen in the film, as she does in 101 Dalmatians. One played by the bloke who played Richard Jewell in the Clint Eastwood film, and one played by Joel Fry, who I worked with on a short film back in 2007, and I was one of the editors on the film, and he played one of the leads. And since then, he's randomly kind of, become quite. He was one of Daenerys's husbands on Game of Thrones at one point as well, talking about Game of Thrones. And so, he's done quite well. So, yeah, I'm interested to see him in it. And maybe, maybe it will come out. People are like, this is amazing. It's Cruella. We can't wait for, more of these. So who knows? Who knows? Tentatively in.
Definitely interested because of the I, Tonya link. But in terms of whether I'm in or out, I'm going to just stay here. I'm out.
Wow.
Yeah, if it arrives in my house on a subscription-based service that I pay for, I'll definitely watch it. But I wouldn't go out my way to Hell Hall just to see it.
Which is what cinemas will now be called in the wake of COVID.
That's it.
I am woman. Hear me roar.
Next up, a slight change of pace, but certainly like an old property breathed new life. We took a look at the Red Band trailer for
Get over here.
Are you a fan of the old fighty games?
Yeah. In terms of the old Mega Drive game, I mean, I never owned a Mega Drive when I was a kid. I was a NES and Super NES man.
Okay.
At the end of the day, but I would go round mates' houses and play Mortal Kombat, because that is the kind of game you went round mates' houses and played. It was good fun. So, I mean, I've never even seen the Paul Anderson Mortal Kombat.
Have you not? It is maybe the best video game to movie adaptation in existence.
Wowza.
Which is funny because the follow-up, Mortal Kombat Annihilation from 1997, is maybe the worst film I've ever seen in a cinema. It was dreadful, and it wasn't even good enough for Paul W.S. Anderson to hang around for. He went off to make Event Horizon, and so left Mortal Kombat Annihilation behind. So yeah, I would actually recommend, if you can, check it out. Mortal Kombat from 1995 is actually pretty good fun.
Yeah, this is a weird one for me in terms of, straight away, we're straight in with the fucking hardcore violence immediately. That's clearly their big selling point of this movie, is the other one was not hardcore, we are hardcore. And look at all this violence. We're going to be true to the game.
Well, yeah, that was a massive controversy around the release of the game in 92, was just how violent it was, pulling each other's spines out or whatever finishing moves.
Finish him. Fatality.
Right, so you're kind of coming at Mortal Kombat as a kind of a novice fighter, almost. You're a white belt in the world of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, exactly. I am.
That's more interesting then. If you aren't deeply connected to the games, how did this look then just as an action film then? Did this look good as an action film?
I thought it kind of looked like there could be some decent fights in it, maybe. It's got some quite good martial artists in it. I think I spotted one of the guys from the Raid in there, maybe. We've got, what's his name, Sub-Zero. He slashes someone up and then he freezes the blood and stabs them with it and everything like that. That's what... that's what
give me it all day long.
Exactly. That's what it's selling it on. And I was like, is there going to be anything more to this film than that? And there doesn't necessarily have to be if that action is good enough, kind of thing. But I found it hard to tell from the trailer if it would just be kind of CG fest kind of thing. If it is raid level fights between guys and everything like that, I'd be well up for it. But I'm not quite sure if that's going to be the case.
So I think the cast looks good. It's produced by James Wan. I don't really know the work of the director.
Well, he hasn't got any, that's why.
Yeah.
It's Simon McCoy.
Yeah.
This is his debut. He's directed one short film in 2014 before this.
Well,
that's it. So this is his shot at the title.
As far as I'm concerned, if you can string a narrative around punching people's heads off, I'm in. Like, I'm good to go.
Cool.
Yeah, I guess I'm excited for Mortal Kombat. See if it's as good as the 1995 version. And
is that a high bar? Because you said best video game movie ever, but that doesn't necessarily mean amazing film.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty low bar.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest. The most excited I got was when there was a slow-mo shot of Goro leaping in the air to fight someone. And because I was watching it on my computer, I was kind of squinting in it, and for a second, I thought that Goro's loincloth was his giant cock, like swinging about as he was kind of leaping towards the other guy he was fighting. And I thought, how R-rated are they going with this thing? So
you need a bit more eroticism inside your fighting films.
That's what I'm looking for in my Mortal Kombat, mate. I'm looking for a new meaning of the phrase "finish him" to my Mortal Kombat. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I just looked at this movie and I was just kind of like, it just kind of feels just a bit. I don't know. It's one of those movies I look at where it feels like it was made for what must be a quite high budget. Yeah. Like, it's got 0 stars in it. There's no one famous in that movie.
Yeah, there's certainly no Christophe Lambert. I mean, he certainly was the top of the tree in 95.
Exactly, yeah. Coming off Highlander. But yeah, with this, I've got to say, I'm a bit out, to be honest. Like, when I watch this trailer, I kind of get slight whiffs of Uwe Boll, like video game adapts from back in the day, like House of the Dead and all that kind of stuff. And if it comes out and it gets amazing reviews and everything like that, people are like, this is like, the best action movie of the year or whatever, then I might turn around on it. But for now, I think I'll go back and revisit that Paul W.S. Anderson Mortal Kombat from the 90s and check that out finally.
In all of its PG-13 glory. There's certainly no Goro penis in that.
Oh, well, maybe I won't bother with it then.
Throughout history, different cultures all over the world reference a great tournament of champions. That dragon marking? I think it's an invitation to fight for something known as Mortal Kombat.
Get over here! Finish them!
Amazing. That was Trailer Talk. So let's round out this little bonus episode with some recommendations. What have you got to recommend for the listeners, Liam?
Well, I had written a few things down. I will recommend some stuff. Polystyrene, I Am a Cliche.
Amazing.
Which is a documentary about the X-Ray Specs singer, Polystyrene, which is currently available on Sky and Now TV. It was meant to come to cinemas, but it's really, really good. I should say, disclaimer, it's directed by a mate of mine, Paul Sung, but it's really, really, really good. If you've got any interest in kind of punk or anything like that, you'll get a lot out of it.
I mean, some people think that Little Girl should be seen and not heard, Liam, but I think, Bondage, up yours. No, I'm really excited to see it, yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to recommend, just because it sounds like hardly anyone's seen it, even though it's got a second season, so some people must have watched it and liked it, is Industry on BBC iPlayer.
Oh, really?
Yes, so good, man. It's a BBC HBO co-production, but so it's set in London, but it looks like HBO production value, like looks incredible, and like pulsing electronic score to it. And it's basically about a bunch of kind of graduates working for like hedge fund banks and stuff like that, massive investment banks in London. And it is one of those shows, I warn people, that if you can't get on with shows where everyone is twat, then you're probably not going to enjoy it. But if you are one of those people like that's not a block to you, as long as the characters are interesting and the situations are interesting, then you'll get a lot out of it. It's really, really interesting show. Amazing, like unknown ensemble cast. It's really wicked.
Great, I'll check it out. Well, I am going to recommend naturally that everyone goes and checks out Liam's podcast, Spotlight. Can they follow you on Twitter? What's your handle there? Yeah,
so we're at Spotlight Pod on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. It's the Star Trek podcast from a non-Trekkie perspective. So if you're looking for a way into the Star Trek universe, then we're the perfect podcast for you. But we talk about lots of other things as well. We have a segment of the podcast called Spotlight at the Movies, where we talk about a film kind of featuring a member of Star Trek alumni either in front or behind the camera. And we've covered loads of kind of cool movies on that. So there's loads there to get your teeth into. And we've had loads of great guests on the show from the world of Star Trek and outside of it as well.
If you like what we talk about here on Diminished Returns, there's loads of crossover to the kind of stuff you guys talk about on Spotlight. But to this day, I cannot believe that you've had a sit down and chat with Richard Donner. It's unbelievable to me that, you know, you've had Richard Donner on the show.
Yeah, I mean, that is...
Who is what, 93?
So when we interviewed him, I think he was 87. That was December 2017 is when we sat down with him. So now I think he'll be probably 91 this year, I would imagine.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I can barely believe it myself that we interviewed Richard Donner. But it was incredible. It's one of those things where he could have been hard work, but he wasn't at all. He was like completely lovely, kind, and gave us lots and lots of time and completely humoured us. So, you know, he was fantastic. So that was a real honour to get to interview him.
Yeah, no, it's a great ep and a great interview. So yes, my recommendation is you check out Spotlight. Amazing. Thank you so much for stepping into Chrissy's big shoes, Liam. And Liam's going to come back onto the show to talk about an actual franchise installment at a later date. So you'll hear more from Liam in the future, and we'll leave you there. But please rate, review and subscribe the podcast. Tell your friends about it. And please follow us under our new name, Diminished Pod, on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Find us everywhere. Thanks, Liam. Thanks, everyone.
Pleasure, mate. Bye-bye. Still not as long as the Snyder Cut, so...
Nothing's as long as the Snyder Cut. It's an ongoing cut.